Nikola Jokic in Denver, a road favorite. They're traveling circus, dropping into Miami. They're a play date with Jimmy Butler and friends. If you didn't watch it, maybe you turn to me to tell you what happened. Right? I'll give you the inside skinny. So don't worry, we got your back. It's, as we like to say, it's our good bits for the day. So Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray each had triple-doubles, and the Nuggets dismembered the Heat 109-94, a domination situation as they led the entire second half of this game. The Joker finishing with 32 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists, the kind of regular season stat line you don't normally see in the NBA Finals. In fact, some saying the most dominating NBA Finals performance we've seen. And then you had Jamal Murray, who said, hey, what about me? What about me? He had 34 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. Even some guy who played at Kansas named Christian Brown, although it looks like his name is spelled Braun, but the family pronounces it Brown. I think it would sound cooler if it was Christian Braun. But they go with Brown. He was 7 of 8, this guy that has a fringe name value, 7 of 8, 15 points off the bench. So Denver, 2 wins away from a nice parade. They're 2 wins away from a nice parade as they are up in the NBA Finals. Game 4, Friday night. Be there or don't go out and have a life. But Friday night will be the next game in South Florida. The better story, though, for us is in the losing locker room, so that is where we will go. Now, the question here, who on the Heat gets the biggest sip of the blame cocktail? Now, don't confuse the blame cocktail with the blame pie. That's a very different thing. This is the blame cocktail. So who gets the biggest sip of the blame cocktail for the Heat? So I have Parade, Tebow, and Witch's Brew. And we will tie all of these things together, and we are going to make a nice, long slumber, which is what the Heat players will be doing soon if they don't win a couple more games here, because if they lose the next 2, that's it. That's all you wrote. All she wrote. All right, so A, you asked the question, who on the Heat gets the biggest sip of the blame cocktail? The Heat played like an elevator, yet again, in the NBA Finals. Game 1, didn't play all that great. They still were within striking distance. Game 2, the Nuggets didn't look all that good. The Heat rose up. They had the closing power. So they're like an elevator. They're up and down. This one was down, 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 down. It was ugly. Very straightforward here. The auxiliary players from Miami played like rubbish. It was not Mardi Gras in New Orleans. It wasn't the Rose Parade in Pasadena. This was a special parade of horribles. As for the blame cocktail, shout out Max Strus, who yet again had a moldy performance as he was funky bad. 3 points. Now, you say he's Max Strus. That's true, but when he's making shots, man, the Heat look really good. 1 of 7 from the floor for Max Strus. You had Gabe Vincent, the other starting guard for Coach Spo, who said, hey, hold my beer. And he was also stuck in the dungeon, 2 of 10 from the floor. Duncan Robinson and Caleb Martin played okay as supporting actors. They did their job, but not enough of the other guys. And the turning point, the pivot point in this game, if you're watching the first half, it happened in the second quarter. Denver was leading 47-46, 1-point game. I believe it was Jimmy Butler had made a basket. So it's 47-46. Denver's up by 1, 2 minutes and 8 seconds to go till halftime. And that's all she wrote. That's it. That's all. See you later. Miami shot less than 33% the rest of the game. They would never lead again. And Bam Adebayo, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus combined to shoot 3 for 21, less than 15% the rest of the game, while Denver connected at a 55% clip. And I thought my eyeballs were going to fall out of my head. The Denver Nuggets, a modern NBA team, almost completely ignored the three-point shot in the second half. They went inside. They did not even try many three-point shots. It was a throwback. And shockingly, they won the game because they dominated the inside paint area, and that was the key. Now, page 2 here. Does this loss now make us reassess the Heat? So the answer is no. If you want to prematurely crown them, then crown their asses, but they are who we thought they were. Now, we picked the Nuggets, for whatever that's worth, in 6 games, but nothing I have seen so far has swayed me to reevaluate my analysis. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are solid Miami players. Butler, another game where he was okay. He wasn't the greatest player on the court. He didn't take over the game. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, they had completely reasonable numbers. They play with gumption. But it's clear that Miami, we knew this coming in, they do not have the supersonic acceleration ability that Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have. Case in point, in the game last night, supporting actors for the Heat forgot their lines. And so that's the point where Butler and Adebayo have to keep the engine going against the Nuggets' dynamic duo. Now, they combine for 50 points, 19 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's fine. Pretty good, right? Now, the numbers are solid. But not when you do a side-by-side comparison, star versus star. Yeah, it's cover your eyes bad. The Heat stars were outscored by 14 points, minus 14, out-rebounded by minus 12, and the Denver twosome had 13 more assists. That is a massive sinkhole. So if Denver shows up and plays razor-sharp basketball, there is no way the Heat are going to be able to win, even with official interference. Right? Now, regardless of that, here's the good news. Most teams do not play perfect games. That's the rub, right? Miami is an all-effort, all-the-time type team. They are the epitome of the old Tim Tebow quote, although he didn't come up with it. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And Miami, they have been deadly tricksters and opportunists in these NBA playoffs. We've seen that all the way through since the play-in Fugazi tournament. But taking advantage of carefree, often lethargic basketball from the opponent, they're like a genetically modified mix of a mongoose and a vulture. Now, the mongoose is said to attack creatures they should not attack, like highly venomous snakes, like the king cobra. The mongoose will attack the king cobra out in the wild. They have no fear, right? No fear. And Miami has a habit of punching above their weight, as they say in boxing. And the other thing where they're like a vulture is they sense weakness, and they're able to go for the polar vortex. We saw that against Boston. We saw it against Milwaukee. In Game 2 against Denver. Denver was a bit aloof. Duncan Robinson played well early in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Butler took over down the stretch, and they pounced. And they ate the rotting carcass of the Nuggets in Game 2. They keep hammering away. But, again, the key is for the other team not to play their A performance. And the Heat have now lost 3 straight home games in Miami. I guess that sea level, the altitude at sea level is a problem. All right, last word here. So, quickly, what adjustments can the Heat make to get the Nuggets off their game to extend this to win on Friday night? You've come to the right place. Come into my clinic. Dr. Maller is in. So, in terms of the storyline from the other day, was cracking the code. I saw some stories that said the Nuggets had cracked the code on Nikola Jokic. They now knew how to stop him. He only had 4 assists in Game 2. And, of course, sports writers are famous for Captain Obvious. They always tell you what just happened. They don't often tell you what's going to happen. They tell you what just happened. That's a good storyline. It lasted for about a day or two. Regardless of that, let's get down to business. The question, adjustments the Heat can make to win Game 4 of the NBA Finals. So the witch's brew for Coach Spo and the Heat is their natural habitat. It is their natural habitat. Will Denver be contaminated by the creeping crud? It is an infestation better known as the South Beach flu. What is that, you ask? Well, it's similar to the Vegas flu. The South Beach flu is contagious. It's often spread by kamikaze shots at 2 a.m. at the bar, dirty martinis with beautiful people at the night spots in Miami. Now, Nikola Jokic and his brother, who apparently was causing somewhat of a ruckus at the NBA Finals game, his brother known to partay. So Nikola Jokic and his brother, Jamal Murray, and his pals and the other Nuggets players are probably right now, as we speak, at the club, having a grand time, hanging out. Maybe it's the Fontainebleau watering hole or some other exotic location in South Beach. But it's more likely than not that they are out partying, celebrating their win. It's also more probable than not that they will be out on Thursday night into Friday morning having a grand time. And then life comes at you fast. Friday night, only one night off, and then Friday night back to work. So the theory is if the Heat can take advantage of their natural habitat and the Nuggets become infected with the South Beach flu, Denver will be so tuckered out by these wild Miami nights that they will be completely zonked at the start of Game 4. Guys will be disheveled as they stagger onto the court, and if Jokic and Murray come out bedraggled, the Heat will win and should win rather comfortably. In these playoffs, you never know. You never know when the wheels are about to fall off. Now, I will tell you a disclaimer. Years ago in another life, before I became a bloviating overnight gas bag, I briefly traveled with a Major League Baseball team, and I was stunned by the level of alcohol consumption that some of these guys could take down, and it would not affect their performance. Blown away. I'm convinced they were fish in another life. They were from an ocean of whiskey or vodka. I'm convinced of that. So some of these guys are not affected by it, but more often than not, it's the old quote from Casey Stengel, right? One of his old quotes. The problem is not the players going out to have a good time. It's them spending all night chasing around the lovely people they're chasing around.